Greetings, opera lovers. Live from Pittsburgh, it's Rona. Yesterday, I spent the majority of my day at my local HD theater watching and listening to Die Meistersinger by Wagner. I would have said, until yesterday, it's one of my favorite operas. After yesterday, it's gone way down. Maybe that's because I didn't enjoy the performance as much as I thought I would. So far as I can tell, I am in the vast minority. On Facebook and through my friends who've gone to the HD production, people I know who are in the house, everybody loved it, but not me. And so this is why I didn't love it. First of all, although I know the story very well of Die Meistersinger and know that it's not a particularly wonderful story, and I also know that there aren't a whole lot of highlights that I really like, I've always enjoyed so many of the scenes. I'm one of the people that actually likes the first act where there's so much talking about the rules of how to make a master song. After all, the title of this opera has the word Singer or singer in it, and as many of you know who have watched some of my online reviews, I am interested in opera a lot for the singing. If the production doesn't take away any of the values, I'm very happy. If the production makes me only think about the production and not the opera, then that doesn't make me happy. So in this case, I've already seen this production twice, and I think it's totally fine. It's an old-fashioned, straightforward telling of the story. I wasn't looking forward to some of the principles because I've heard them before, and I don't particularly love them. And one of them, unfortunately, is the one who plays Walther, about whose name, when we say Die Meistersinger, is what he hopes to become, a master singer. And the reason I am not such a fan of his is because as a romantic lead, I just can't buy it. I can't buy that a young lady as beautiful as Eva sitting in a church and then seeing this stranger falls immediately in love with him. Many people love his voice, the timbre of it, the sound, the size of it. I'm just not a fan of it. It doesn't mean that it's not a great voice or a beautiful voice. It just doesn't appeal to me as much as other people's voices who do this repertoire. Also singing in the smaller but important role of Eva is Annette Dash. I've heard her 3 times, not live, but through the magic of YouTube, and although I think she's a very fine singer, I don't love her either. And in the first and second act, she doesn't really have to stretch her vocalism to the point where what I consider her problems to be. In the third act, where she has to really sing out and sing with passion, this is where I found it so lacking, and that was very disappointing for me. So instead of being so negative, let's start with all the positives of yesterday's performance. First of all, I thought the orchestra sounded just beautiful, and the chorus, as always, they're just wonderful. And in the final act, where there is so much pageantry, and I know it's politically incorrect nationalism for Germany, I just think it's beautiful. The biggest surprise for me was first I heard the broadcast over the radio, only the first act, and I just loved Paul Appleby as David. And when I saw him, I loved it even more. I thought he was the standout performer in the opera. First of all, although David is a somewhat minor character, he sings an awful lot. Pairing up with him as his love interest is another singer whose voice I so admire, is Karen Cargill. I believe she's a Scotch mezzo. I didn't really buy them so much as a couple. When I listened on the radio, they were more appealing together. Seeing them together, there was no chemistry. but it was excellent singing nonetheless. Then, of course, there's the couple of Eva and Walther. Again, it's just hard to believe in the chemistry. Then, of course, there's Hans Sachs. He is truly the hero of the opera. In my 2 former seeings of this opera, I saw and heard James Morris. So unfortunately to me, he is sort of the way you're supposed to play Hans Sachs. Yesterday it was Michael Volle, a very renowned German basso who does Hans Sachs in Europe. I think he has a fine voice. I heard from my friends who were in the house that he filled out the sound in the vast Met Auditorium. But there was something about his characterization that just I didn't like. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just used to the way James Morris does it, and I think that that's the way it should be done. His voice was very good. I didn't think he really tired at the end. It's a very long role, and at the end he has to sing a whole lot of notes. And he sounded just fine. A special note, the audience seemed to love him. So again, I'm in the vast minority. Singing some of the other roles were just fantastic singers. Have to start with Beckmesser, a new name to me. Johannes Martin Krenzel. Absolutely terrific voice. He was a very muggy kind of Beckmesser. And I know you're not supposed to like Beckmesser, and I didn't. Previously, I'd seen Thomas Allen, one of my favorite singers in the entire universe. And again, the different kinds of characterizations were very noticeable. I preferred Mr. Allen's characterization, but Krenzel's vocalism was of the highest order. Another person whose name also has a Martin in it was the one who played Kotner, one of the other master singers. His name is Martin Gantner. I've never heard of him before. I thought he was just great. Singing Eva's father, Pogner, was Hans-Peter Koenig. I've heard him many times in the Wagner repertoire at the Met, mainly in the Ring. And this is a real bass voice with all the boom and power. But I felt here it was a little too boomy, a little wobbly. The conducting by James Levine held the opera together, but I just didn't feel that there was like any drive in it. Maybe I'm just I'm just too easily bored with so much of the same music. The overture starts, and then it's sort of the interest musically starts to fade a little here and there. Although I will say that I noticed all the intricacies of the orchestral accompaniment to the singing. So that was a good thing. The scenery is quite well known, as this production has been around since 2007, but it is going to be retired for a new production. I believe it's from Glyndebourne, which I've seen excerpts from, which looks fantastic. So that'll be fun to find a new Meistersinger. Just a few other words about the opera in general. It really has what I would consider a poor plot. There's no real interest. And unless the people who are acting really bring their characters to life, I feel that you're just not going to be that involved. And in this in the Met's presentation, I felt that although some of the actors, some of the singers in their acting tried to bring out the character, they weren't all on the same page of acting school. So that was a little bit disconcerting. Another thing about Meistersinger is that after the overture, there really isn't like a great aria or piece that we all know. My favorite is where in the third act, Sachs sings his famous monologue where he says, "Madness, madness, wann, überall, wann," or whatever the words are. And here I thought Mr. Volle just did not have enough gravitas to pull this off. So I was very disappointed in the opera, mainly I think because I had such high expectations. I hate to be negative about opera because I'm such a strong supporter of it, and I love Wagner, and I used to think I loved this opera. Maybe I need to see another production. I know that most of you who are going to watch this review are going to think I'm crazy, or just that you disagree with me, but it's just my opinion. It doesn't really count for much. And so I'm looking forward to my next HD. I know I'm definitely going to see Iolanta and Bluebeard's Castle. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. Bye.